the state of Rhode Island on the local level, the state level, and the federal level. And it's great that Senator Dominic Ruggiero, Senate President, is going to introduce legislation to take care of lead pipes in the state. And he and Representative William O'Brien are going to have a tough fight, but they're up for the task, and it's a very worthy cause of what they're doing. I'm Dean Martilli. I'm been appointed by Mayor Lombardi to be the project manager for the lead pipe removal here in North Providence. And Mayor Lombardi got involved in this in 2015 from reading and looking at the news that there was a problem with lead pipes. And when he found out that we had a huge problem here in town, he decided to take the program head on and put us in charge of finding money to try to replace the lead lines. So we got involved in 2015. We went and met with Providence Water and got together in a pretty good relationship with them. Providence Water is the largest water provider in the state of Rhode Island, but also covers most of North Providence. So working with the representative of Providence Water, we were able to define all the homes that had either full lead connections or partial lead connections. And by 2018, the EPA had picked up that Lombardi was taking this project on, and they awarded him with an environmental health award for children's health at a program at Faneuil Hall in Boston for the work that he had done. And then they followed up with that. A few months later, they sent a film crew to the town of North Providence and filmed a lead line replacement with copper here in town, a few streets away. And that was put on their national website because they were so intrigued that Lombardi took such an active role in this. And at the time, there were only 5 mayors in the entire country that were working on this project, and Lombardi was right on the front line. So I mean, it's been a great program here. We really appreciate what Senator Ruggiero is going to do. Then it went on to when the Biden administration took over, and they had a think tank, the Office of Policy and Correctness or whatever, but they were advising the White House on lead pipes. They were in constant contact with Lombardi. They did a video of him as well because they wanted to understand all the issues that you face when you do a private line on the person's property, a public line, and connect it to the water main in the street, and all those issues that are involved. And today, Mayor's still facing the challenges head on, and I love his tenacity, and I refer to him as the godfather of lead line reduction. So he's just done a great job, and I appreciate his involvement. So today, I think that the message that I have is that it's very important that all levels of government work together, local, state, and federal. This is an issue that affects the residents of the state, from the adults and their children, and that you need to be coordinated on your approach to funding these operations and getting companies like Ritchie Drain here to do the work for you on the ground. And you've got to understand your constituents and what their needs are, because they're the ones that put you in office to work for them. And so it's my honor to introduce someone that was on the local level as a mayor of Cumberland, who's done a great job with children's education and children's health, that he's now the governor of the great state of Rhode Island, Dan McKee.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's great to be here on this very important issue that we're all, focused on is, replacing every last lead pipe in Rhode Island. And many of you have heard me talk about the 3 goals that our administration has, which is raising academic outcomes, raising family incomes, and making sure we're healthy enough to enjoy living in this great state that we have we're fortunate to be able to live in. And this is a health issue. And so I really congratulate Mayor Lombardi. I was talking to him yesterday about how his leadership has been recognized nationally. And it's not a surprise to me that Mayor Lombardi has made this a front and center priority in North Providence. So thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your work. And I also want to recognize Senate President Dominic Ruggiero for his leadership to make this issue one that he's bringing right to the General Assembly, along with Representative O'Brien, to talk about how the General Assembly can participate in the efforts that are happening right here in North Providence. So thank you, Rep. Thank you for that. Treasurer Diosa as well is here in support. Council President Adiola as well, and the team from the Climate Jobs Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, and of course Mike Sabatoni representing our building and construction trades, who are key players in helping us get this project off the ground and continue to do it throughout the state, Mike. And you know how I feel about JOBSs, right? So jobs are the key to make sure that we push back against any economic uncertainty, and then do the work, put people to work, and then have that work pay dividends for decades to come. This project does just that. And of course, Senator Reed, Jack, thank you so much for your leadership. I do thank you not only pre-pandemic, during the pandemic, and now as we're coming out of the pandemic. Your leadership, along with your congressional team, we thank you for all that you've done for Rhode Island, but also all you've done for the United States in terms of your service and in the committees that you do chair in the U.S. Senate. One thing is clear to me: we cannot take for granted our everyday access to clean drinking water. In fact, we must do everything we can to protect it and enhance it. That's why investments in pipes and water systems is so critical. Right now, Rhode Island has an historic opportunity to tap into federal funding for upgrades to treatment facilities, water mains, and pipes that will provide residents with clean water and help our environment for generations to come. That's why in my budget proposal provides $28.5 million to the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank to satisfy the state match for the Clean Drinking Water State Revolving Funds. Using state funds for this purpose unlocks significant federal funding through the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act that will increase the return on our investment in clean and drinking water programs and lead pipe removal. I want to thank again the Senate President and the rest of the legislature for their work in the General Assembly to keep this momentum going. And now it is my honor to introduce Senate President, who is leading the charge in sponsoring the Lead Poisoning Prevention Act. Senate President, please come up and say your words with us.
Thank you, Governor, and welcome to North Providence. I want to thank you all for being here. It's a very important day for us because we think we have a piece of legislation that is going to be very helpful not only to young children but also older people. I want to thank the individuals here today who came, who took the time out from their busy schedule to be here at this important event. Obviously, lead poisoning has been around for a while. It was evidenced in our water stream many years ago. Obviously, we should have acted before this. And before we started doing this, but I want to stand here and commend my mayor for the town of North Providence for the foresight and the vision to take on this particular project. It's going to be very helpful for the young people, but also there are a lot of older citizens in this state that are affected by whatever's in our pipes, and sometimes we don't know what's in our pipes. I know we have people here from the Providence Water Supply Board, the Infrastructure Bank, labor, and a number of officials. I want to mention the presence of Dave Takoyan, one of our senators whose district we are in right now. He is a proponent and a supporter of this legislation, and I want to thank him for his support, thank him for his attendance today. Access to clean and safe drinking water should not depend on someone's zip code or income level. No family should have to fear that their children are being poisoned in their own home because of unsafe, antiquated lead pipes. For far too many Rhode Islanders, the threat of lead exposure remains all too real. During the pandemic, our state saw a significant increase in the number of lead poisoning cases among children, making clear just how urgently action is needed regarding this issue. That's why this year I am proud to be sponsoring the Lead Poisoning Prevention Act, along with my colleague in the House, William O'Brien. This incredibly important bill will supplement the current level, state, federal level, and local work on the issue, and put our state on track to eliminate lead pipes within the next 10 years. It will hold water suppliers accountable for lead pipes in their service areas and provide critical, no-cost support for house owners who have lead in their homes. This is a matter of public health, as well as environmental and economic justice. Action cannot wait any longer. I am grateful for the support of everyone here as we take on a serious threat to the well-being of our children and our elderly, and protecting the health of all Rhode Islanders. This legislation has been around for a couple of years. Last year, I had my Senate Majority Leader, Michael McCaffrey, who was no longer in the Senate, to work on this bill, and he did an absolutely phenomenal job. I couldn't have done a better job than he did, and he was just absolutely spectacular as far as getting down to the root of this particular issue. So I want to thank him for his efforts. I want to thank everyone up here for not only their efforts, but their support. And hopefully, we're going to have $141 million initially to spend to start off spending on this project. Obviously, it's going to cost a lot more down the line, but we'll be looking at the infrastructure big to see what kind of additional support that we can get in the future. So I'm looking forward to this. I think it's long overdue. I think it's something that we should be doing for a long time. Hopefully within the 10 years, we can eliminate lead and corrosive particles in our pipe system and provide the necessary potable drinking water that the public expects. Thank you very much for being here today, and I hope you come out and support the legislation, because I think it's a good piece, and I'm really looking to work very closely with the Representative O'Brien, and I would be remiss if I did not mention Senator Jack Reed. Whenever we need something in the state, he's the person that we go to, and I can't remember a time where he hasn't come up with what we needed to help the state of Rhode Island. I want to thank him for his many years of service, and also for his great work down in Washington, and also our congressional delegation. But Jack is he's a spearhead. He's the one that we use when we need something immediately, and I want to thank him very much for everything he's done for the state of Rhode Island over the years. So thank you all very much, and I know there's some other speakers here, and I'm sure that they'll be letting you know some of the particulars But I think that once we have the hearing on the legislation, it'll be a lot more clearer. It's not gonna cost the homeowners any money. It's something that we are gonna do with the money we get from the federal government. So, thank you all very much for being here today, and I'll turn this back over to, actually, the person I was just talking about. I am going to introduce him. Jack Reed and I go way back. We played football together at LaSalle on the same team. This is a Rhode Island story. And then he came into the Rhode Island Senate, and we served in the Senate. Then he went on to bigger and better things as a congressman and also as a United States Senator. So he's proven his worth to the people of Rhode Island. I don't know a better person down in Washington who I could say that person is better than Jack Reed. So without further ado, I would like to introduce the senator who helps us with everything that we need, Senator Jack Reed.
President Ruggiero is right. We've known each other a long time, playing football at LaSalle, serving the Senate together. I remember at LaSalle, Donnie was a great end, and he'd go out and catch a pass, look down the field, see nobody, and then trip over me. I was a defensive passer. Thank you, Mr. President. No surprise for your leadership. You can't find a more decent gentleman of integrity and total dedication to the people of Rhode Island than Ruggiero. Governor, thank you. Mayor Lombardi, thank you. Another beautiful day in North Providence. Goes without saying, correct? Correct. We're here today with a very, very important issue, and that is lead in the water pipes that all of our families throughout the state of Rhode Island depend upon. This is an issue of public health. It's an issue that if we don't address is going to harm our most vulnerable population, children. The science has shown us very clearly that if children are getting lead through the water system, it will impair their neurological function. They will be, in effect, damaged for life. So this is an issue which we've got to address, and I salute all of the state leaders and the local leaders who are addressing this issue. It will require resources, and I'm pleased that the governor has committed those resources, but we've also been able to help the federal level. I've been active, along with all of my colleagues' delegation, in ensuring that Rhode Island will receive $141 million in funding to help replace lead in the service lines throughout the state. That's in addition to $13 million that I worked before the Infrastructure Act to obtain to the city of Providence, Woonsocket, and other communities around the state. I've been focused, as so many of us here have for years, on the issue of exposing, particularly children, to lead in the water supply. We've got to do more work. It's going to take a great effort over many years, but we've got to do it, and we will do it. And we also have to continue to educate our residents and provide the resources to prevent lead exposure, and to ensure that in this state, every family can turn on the tap with a sense of security and knowledge that the water is running pure and free, and that's the way it should be in Rhode Island. With that, I think it is my privilege to turn it over to Representative O'Brien and commend him for his great work in the House in terms of moving this forward. Thank you.
I just wanted to agree with everything the Senator just said, but also I wanted to point out something about Dominic Ruggiero. He's one of the biggest hearts up there. He's intelligent, he's bright, but more importantly, he has a heart the size of an elephant. And I want to thank you for getting me involved in this legislation. And as a public school teacher, I've seen the results. I've seen the results of lead poisoning in our children. And this bill, it was my honor to support, because I hope and I pray that I'll never see it again for the next 10 years. Because I got about 10 to 15 years left, and I don't want to see these cases ever again. And what every speaker has already said, clean drinking water is a right. We should do everything we can to make sure children are not poisoned and don't have difficulty in school from that poison. And seeing the results is traumatic, both for the parents and the school teachers who do it on a daily basis. And they do a great job, but you can't recover once you've been exposed to lead poisoning. You cannot recover. And this bill makes sure it does not happen. And that's why I support it. That's why I have over 38 co-sponsors in the House, and that's why we will move forward on this legislation. Thank you very much. Secretary Dioso.
He needs no introduction.
Me, no introduction.
He's a beauty. Hey, good morning, everyone. And I want to give a strong shout out to all the elected officials, starting here with the mayor of North Providence, my good friend Charlie, who is spectacular, who's been a friend, who's been a guiding friend in my time as mayor. And as you know, mayors are on the front lines, just like our governor was a former mayor in Cumberland. So I had the real pleasure of working with all of them, and Senator Reed, Senator Dominic Ruggiero, Representative O'Brien, and to all my friends of labor who played an instrumental role in this particular area, and today trying to get more safe drinking water to our friends. That's important. But regardless of zip code, all Rhode Islanders should expect access to safe, clean, and lead-free drink water. However, lead in our water pipes threatens the health and well-being of families and children from North Providence to Newport. We are all aware of the science. There is simply no safe level of exposure to lead, which is why the efforts put forth to replace lead pipes are critical. I want to thank Senate President Ruggiero and Representative O'Brien for their leadership on this critical public health issue, and they deserve a big round of applause for that. And as the mayor of a community that had very big presence of lead, I am very sensitive to this issue. And just yesterday, I was speaking with a working mother in Central Falls. She has been living in an apartment for more than 5 years. The lead was recently discovered. She expressed her deep concern for her children's well-being. With the work we are doing to address lead hazards, that family's health will be safeguarded. And historically, we know that the danger of lead pipes disproportionately impacts communities of color. But progress has been made by our leaders in our community to address lead exposure. Whether it's our congressional delegation securing federal funds to address this issue, or our colleagues in the State House pushing for passage of Lead Poisoning Prevention Act, or our local leaders accelerating the replacement of lead pipes in the community, just like Charlie's doing here in North Providence. We must all be targeted in our efforts. And we are proud that the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank is a partner in this initiative. They are building on the mission to foster improvements that enhance the lives of Rhode Islanders. This is a sound and needed investment in the health and future of our state. The state funds a no-cost financial assistance programs available to property owners provided through the Infrastructure Bank will augment the federal funds that our state congressional delegation has secured. And I am immensely proud that our state is taking the initiative with this legislation to protect the health of our residents. And to talk more about the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank's involvement, I'd like to introduce my friend, Jeff Dio, CEO of the Rhode Island Infrastructure Bank, to talk more about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Treasurer. For those of you that don't know me, Jeff Deal from the Infrastructure Bank. I think I'm the only one up here that's probably not as recognizable as everybody else in the seats, but we're happy to be here today and celebrate the enhancement we're doing in removing lead from water systems here in Rhode Island. We're very happy to have partnered with Mayor Lombardi and his team, working with the Senator Reed and his team, and resources made available to us by Compete Rhode Island to obtain a $5.5 million grant from EPA to address removing lead pipes. We also appreciate the partnership we've had with Providence Water over the years. We also worked with them to obtain another grant from EPA. We also put up our own capital, as the treasurer said, to help Providence Water realize a 0% long-term loan program for removing lead pipes. But most importantly, the bipartisan infrastructure law driven in Congress by Senator Reid is going to bring over $141 million of funding to remove lead service lines here in the state. Half of that money is going to be in the form of grants or principal forgiveness for the water companies, which means it's going to be free and really addressing lead service lines in our most underserved communities. We're happy to be part of that. I also want to give a shout out to President Ruggiero and Representative O'Brien, because again, the legislation that they're pushing through is very important to the state, and the Infrastructure Bank looks forward to working in partnership with the Assembly and with the governor and his team to really address this. And we look forward to putting that money that we're receiving out into loans in the coming months with Providence Water and other water companies, and really see significant movement in removing lead service lines. And that $141 million we're receiving over the next 5 years goes a long way, but it doesn't cover everything. So we still have a lot of work to do, and the bank is looking to support that work here in the state. And with that, I'd like to introduce Marilyn Barney.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Thank you for taking all of our calls. I know we've been relentless in requesting the funds from your office, but thank you very, very much for the additional $212,000 so we can continue our program. Governor McKee, Senator Reid, my Senator Dominic Ruggiero, thank you very, very much. Rep. O'Brien, my former mayoral colleague, my partner, President Oriello, Mike, thank you very, very much. Sometimes we need to have courage to make what some would say unpopular decisions. When it comes to safety, and more importantly, one's health, and you know in your heart that it's the right decision, popularity doesn't matter. Back in 2016, when I read about the woes in Flint, Michigan, and then through a little research learned that we had some 1,000 lead connections in town, I asked through our CDG program for the use of funds to address our lead pipe connections. And at that time, I was told, you sure you want to do this? You could scare people. And I said, not if explained and if we communicate with everyone. Call some community meetings. Explain to the people, you don't have a problem today, but maybe in 14 or 15 years, you could. Why not take advantage of this program? You could save approximately $4,000, because through a little research, we knew that each individual connection was anywhere between $4,000 and $4,500 on the private side, by the way. We then asked to partner with Providence Water, and I see General Manager Rick Carrillo here today. And Rick, thanks for being our partner. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, thank you.
We have addressed 102 services in our town that have been replaced. We also know now that those residents will continue to drink the healthiest water for years to come. Again, Jeff, thank you for the $212,000. That's going to allow us again to replace approximately 40 to 42 connections, and this will be one right here at number 7 Ferncliff. But make no mistake about it, the funds, the CDBG grant program, the infrastructure bank, and now the state of Rhode Island through Governor McKee, Senator Ruggiero, and Representative O'Brien. Those funds are now available and have been available through one person, Senator Reed. His office, I think we all know, is responsible for the funding. And again, Senator, thank you very, very much. Now, not only North Providence residents, but residents throughout the state of Rhode Island will be afforded lead pipe replacement. We, as elected officials, propose programs such as this, hoping for positive results. But think about this. When there's local, state,